I've decided to make this video because this game, the Defence of Procyon III, has been falling under the radar. Almost nobody knows about this game, and I think it's a pity because I find it perhaps the most thematic game I've ever played, and I haven't found any videos, in English at least, about how to play this game. So I've decided to make a video explaining how to play while I play it. And I'm going to be playing multiplayer. I'll not use bots. And if you're interested in a particular faction, you might want to click the timestamps to jump to the turns of that faction. I also want to mention that every time I play this game with other people, I've always been on the human factions, so I've been the Expedition and the Armada. I've never played the aliens, the Athene factions, the Principal and the Meld, so I might not play as well with the aliens, bear with me. So this game is played over two boards. This board shows the surface of the planet, with the humans on one side and aliens on the other side, and then this is the space areas around the planet with humans on one side and aliens on the other side. So the game is played with four factions, two human factions and two alien factions. The aliens are called the Athene, and it's asymmetric. But it can be played with less than 4 players, because one player can handle both human factions or both alien factions at the same time, if necessary, without bots. So just for a quick summary of the story, the humans have colonized the third planet in the Procyon system, and they found an artifact. And when they activated the artifact, suddenly a bunch of aliens showed up on the surface and on the space around the planet. From the point of view of the humans, they were being attacked by aliens and they just wanted to defend. So, Defence of Procyon III. From the point of view of the aliens, known as the Athene, they had been at war with a race called the Naharan for a very long time, and they thought they shut down all their war gates. And now they realize one of the war gates just got activated, which is the artifact. So basically they want to shut down that gate because the humans don't know what they're doing. They have no idea what that is. They have no idea what they just started. So from the point of view of the aliens, they're trying to save the universe, something like that. On the ground, the human expedition feel surrounded and overwhelmed by too many aliens. They have militia, which is basic security forces from the planet. They have marines, which are a bit stronger, but they are few, and the expedition is hoping that the human armada will drop more marines from space. They also have a bunch of heroes, and they have scientists with which they are desperately trying to evacuate. The Principal, which is the ground force of the Athene, they have a bunch of these legions. They have some stronger units called centurions, and they have one empress. The empress is trying to get to the city and try to hack the artifact. At the same time, they might try to work together with the Meld, which is the Athene Space Force, to try to put down these pylons, because these pylons are protecting the city and protecting these 3 areas. And if they manage to put down the pylons, they can then bombard the artifact from space. The Principal are also going to be trying to destroy these human buildings, the railgun, hospital, jammer, and comms array, because when they destroy it, they use what's left of it to build these sky beams that will send energy into space, and they will allow the Meld to activate more ships. Up here on the spaceport, the human Armada is trying to get into orbit to provide relief to the expedition by dropping more Marines, by performing ground strikes, and by helping them evacuate their scientists. However, the Meld are also trying to get into orbit to bombard the planet and to drop down these rattles, which greatly help the principal ground forces on the planet. Usually the team that wins the game is the team with the most points by the end of the last round. The last round can be triggered either by a team getting to 42 points or the Athene destroying the artifact, or if none of that happens, by the end of the 10th round. However, the game can also finish if the Athene managed to kill 10 of the 14 scientists, in which case the game immediately ends and the victory is for the Athene team. So in each round, first the principal play, then the Armada plays, then the expedition, and finally the Meld will play. So at setup, the principal draw 6 cards and they're going to discard 2 cards. So I'm going to discard these 2 cards. You will later understand how cards work. So in each turn, the principal have 4 cards in their hands usually, and they're going to play 3. So one of these cards is going to carry over to the next round. So each card, when you play a card, you can choose either to play for the top, which is the location activation. So it shows a location on the map or several locations on the map where you can do stuff. So you either play for the top or you play for the bottom special effect, or you use that card to cover part of one of your directives, and you execute whatever is written in your directive. So each card is played either for the top, for the bottom, or for one of your directives. So the reason I chose these cards is because they show a certain location where I want to advance. I'm going to try to push my units closer to the pylon and push my Empress as close as possible to the artifact. So I'm going to start with this card, for example. I'm going to play it for the top. So I'm going to choose this location, and whenever you play a card for the location activation, you can choose either to move 5 units to or from the location, or you can move 3 units and attack, or you can attack twice. So in this case, I'm going to move 5 units from this location to an adjacent. So I'm going to move my Centurion, my Empress, and I'm going to move 3 legions, so that's 5 units. And you can see that I can pass from this location to this because this line is white. If it was red, I would not be able to pass. It's some kind of a cliff. It means it's not adjacent. So I move 5 units. Next, I'm going to play again a card with the same location, but in this case, instead of moving 5, I'm going to move 3 and attack. So the way that the principal attacks is thematically they have some kind of a hive mind, and as the Empress is trying to control all these units, but it's not easy. So there's going to be some focus and some discord, and this is represented in cubes. This is a bag that initially has 10 discord cubes and 12 focus cubes. So the focus cubes are the black, the discord cubes are the white. So because I have 8 units over there, divided by 2, that's 4 cubes that I'm gonna draw. So I'm gonna shuffle this a bit. I'll draw 4 cubes. So 4 cubes, that was quite fortunate. So I have 3 hits. 3 hits, and I cannot choose the scientists while I have some other valid targets, which is this marine and this militia. So the marine has 2 hit points and the militia has 1, so I'm going to choose to kill exactly the marine and the militia, and in their place I will place some fallen, which represents their bodies, and these fallen are used by the principle to spawn. So I can spawn from these fallen bodies if the humans don't collect it. So with this attack I just killed the militia and the marine, and now the scientists are defenseless. Because I got more than 1 black cube, I lose 1 black cube, 1 focus cube. So the rest goes back in the bag. So for my third and last card, I'm going to use this. Again, I'm going to use the top location activation because I want to do stuff in that location. So I could choose to attack twice in the location, but I think instead I'm going to choose to move 3 more units in and attack only once. So because I have 11 units here, half of that rounded up is 6. So I'm going to draw 6 cubes. And I got 3 hits. So now that I have no other valid targets, I can finally choose the scientists. So I kill 3 scientists, place them on the morale track, so the humans are losing morale, and the third scientist makes the humans lose a point. So the humans lose 1 point, and 3 fallen bodies are placed where the scientist died. These fallen might be very useful for me to spawn more units. And because I have more than 1 focus cube, I lose 1 focus cube. The rest goes back in the bag. And I draw up to 4 cards again. And that's the end of my turn. Now it's the Armada's turn, and at setup the Armada have to draw 6 cards and choose 3 to have in their hand and 3 to have in their combat deck. So what happens is that the cards that I'll have in my hand, they're going to be used for their ship activations up here on the top and for their technologies. And the cards that go in the combat draw are going to be used solely for their attack values whenever I attack. So I'm going to choose to have in my hand these 2 cards and this one, because I'm planning on using these ships on the first turn, probably these ones on the second turn, and I want to have this technology available. Maybe I'm going to use it later because it allows me to activate my ion cannon. And these cards go into my combat deck because I like their attack values. It's a bit higher than this. And so I will shuffle them. I've shuffled them off camera, which is easier than when I'm grabbing a phone in my hand. So that's my combat deck. And now this is my hand. So in each turn, the Armada start by receiving 1 Promethium as long as their moon refinery hasn't been destroyed by the Meld. So I'm going to get a Promethium, put it on in my pool. And in each turn, the Armada plays just one card. So it's going to activate the cards, the ships that are on the top of the card, and then it's going to have the technology that's in the middle. It's going to be available only for the next turn. So I'm going to choose this card for the first turn, and this allows me to activate 5 interceptors and 1 dreadnought. Each ship can only be activated once, so these 5 interceptors must be 5 different interceptors. So I'm going to choose to activate my dreadnought first. And my dreadnought, when it activates, it either shoots or it moves once and launches an interceptor. So I choose to move it and launch an interceptor. I have a maximum of 6 interceptors I can launch during the whole game. So you can mark the ships that you already activated so you don't activate them again. But whenever a dreadnought activates, you can also move 2 ships anywhere on the board, 2 ships that haven't been activated yet, and that counts as activations. So they are going to move just once. I'm going to choose to move this frigate and this frigate. This is called a fleet movement, when a dreadnought allows 2 ships to move. And you can see that I can pass here because there's a white line. I couldn't, for instance, pass through red lines here because there are asteroids blocking. This is a bit weird. There's a red line here, but I can pass through here, so there's that. And now I can also activate 5 interceptors. So I'm going to start by activating this one. So an interceptor, when it activates, you can move twice, or you can move and then battle, or you can battle and then move, but you cannot battle twice. So I'm gonna move it twice over here. And I'm gonna move one of these interceptors also twice. When you're playing with the Armada, you want to spread out your ships because the Meld can produce some spore clouds that disable your shields in the area where the spore cloud is placed. So you don't want to have everything in one area because they'll concentrate a lot of clouds there. So you want to spread out. So I activated 2 interceptors. I can activate 3 more. So 3 more interceptors. So I'm going to activate this interceptor that I just launched, and it's going to move and then battle. I'm going to mark it already. So I want to target these hoods. These hoods provide something like a shield. They provide extra hit points to all the Meld ships in adjacent locations, but not in this location. I'm thinking of trying to maybe attack the Meld mothership if I'm able. So I'm going to start by trying to destroy one of these hoods. The hoods have 3 hit points and these other ships have 2 hit points. So I'm going to shoot at the hood. I'm going to draw combat card, and that's a 2. I forgot to mention, but interceptors, when they attack hoods, they are specialists in attacking hoods. When they attack hoods, they have a +1. So this 2 actually becomes a 3, which is exactly the number of hit points that the hood has. So the hood is destroyed. I discard this combat card. And I can activate 2 more interceptors. So I'm activating these 2. They're just going to move in here because I want to have them nearby this area if I actually go through attacking the mothership. So that's the end of my ship activations. I'm relatively spread out and I have quite a few ships here for a potential attack on the mothership. And now I have my drone phase. So these echo drones are used both by the Armada and by the expedition to perform some special coordination actions. In my case, the Armada could use them for ground strikes or for cleaning up spore clouds that were left by the Meld. I'm not in a condition to do any of that, so I'll not be using these echo drones, so I'm gonna skip my drone phase, and in my end phase I will simply discard this card that I've used, and now this technology is going to be active for the next turn. So now for the expedition turn. So the expedition have 4 heroes. You can see their special abilities here, and behind this is just wound cards. And they start off with they start each turn with 4 cards in their hand, and in the beginning at setup you also discard 4 cards at random, and from these 4 cards they're going to use 1 card for hero activation and 2 cards for momentum, for these flags over here. So I've been looking at these cards and the situation on the board, which seems a bit hopeless over there in that location. So I think I'm gonna try to evacuate those scientists and try to place a few defenses around. So I'm going to activate Dr. Cram. So I choose this card for activation, and the card you choose for activation is exhausted, goes out of the box, out of the game. So when you choose the card for activation, you are signaling you're going to activate this hero, you're going to have this special effect, and you ignore these flags over here. So I exhaust this card. I'm going to activate Dr. Cram, which I can mark it with this. And first thing I have to do is I have to resolve this effect. So I'm going to place 2 absorption fields in locations that don't have absorption fields. So I'm going to place an absorption field over here. I'm thinking of falling back to this region and protecting it well. I'm also placing an absorption field over here. And absorption fields are good because they're gonna absorb the first hit of a principal attack, but then they go away, they're destroyed. So it's good because they ignore the first black cube. So now I am gonna choose these 2 cards, not for the hero or for the special effect, but for their momentum. So this provides me 4 momentum. Momentum basically corresponds to action points, so it's basically move, shoot, regroup are the 3 kinds of actions you can have. Besides those actions, I can also use my hero's special ability, which I'm gonna use it right now. So I can move her. I don't think I'm gonna move her now. I'm going to place an absorption field, in this case in the location where she's at, could be adjacent, and I'm going to place a discord cube in the principal's bag. So that was the special ability of the hero. Now I have 4 momentums that I can use. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run away with this scientist. I'm gonna move these 2 guys in here. This is my sniper, Mac. So I'm gonna defend this location well. And I have 1 more momentum. I'm gonna choose to regroup. I could collect one of these bodies if I had a hero there. I'm not gonna do that. But regroup also allows me to place a deflector shield. And Deflect Shield is good because it allows me to choose how the principal distributes its hit. Instead of the principal choosing, I'm gonna be the one choosing. But then the shield goes away. So that's it for my 4 momentum. Now I have also a drone phase. I could use these drones. I could use a drone, for example, to launch a scientist into space. So scientists can be launched into space if they are in the city or in one of the pylon areas, because that's next to the spaceport. That's where I can launch them from. I'm not gonna launch this scientist just yet because I'm not so sure that the Armada will be able to defend it. So I'm not doing anything in my drone phase. I could also drop some marines if there were frigates in orbit, but there aren't, so I cannot do that. So I end my turn and I draw back to 4 cards. So just to clarify, in my regroup action, I wasn't able to collect the body because I didn't have a hero in the same area as those fallen. I was able to place a deflector shield here because I have a hero here. Otherwise I couldn't. So now for the Meld. The Meld are always cycling between 8 cards. They start with 6 cards in hand and 2 cards in the discard. These 2 cards can be specific cards if you're playing the game for the first time, but in this case they are randomly drawn. And you're always cycling through the same 8 cards. You use 2 cards each turn. However, those 8 cards can change a little bit if you choose to upgrade them. Eventually, you can upgrade a basic card by an evolved card by switching them and paying the cost. So these 4 evolved cards are not always the same in each game. They are randomly drawn from 8. So the Meld can have a little bit of a different game every time. These neuron dice are rolled at the beginning of the game at setup, and you can see that some of them have more squares on the face that is shown. Some of them have more circles. So you're going to use one of these dice each turn. And if you choose a die with more of these squares, they're called function icons, you're going to be able to activate more ships. But if you choose a die with more circles, which are called sensory icons, you're going to be used to have stronger special actions. So the Meld start their turn by constructing a ship, a small ship. So small ships are these rattles, hoods, and fangs. And then cobras are not small ships. And the mothership is also not a small ship. So you start the turn by building a small ship wherever a cobra is located, and the mothership is also considered a cobra that doesn't move. So I'm going to choose to construct a hood at the location of this mothership, which is considered a cobra. Because I'm afraid of what's happening here, I'm going to try to prevent the Armada from destroying my mothership at all costs, because that will give them 6 points. So I'm going to choose a die, and I'm going to choose this die. So after choosing my die, I'm going to choose 2 cards. One card, I'm going to use the top of the card, depending on how many function icons I have. And the other card, I'm going to use the bottom for the special action, depending on how many sensory icons I have. So I've chosen these 2 cards. So I'm going to activate hoods and cobras, and then I will perform this special action down here. So the way this is done is I have 3 function icons, so I can choose 2 areas on the board, and I place 3 of these function cubes in each of those 2 areas. So I'm going to choose this area where I place 3, and I'm going to choose this area where I place 3. So I'm going to be able to activate 3 ships here, which are going to be these 3. You see, I can only activate Cobras and Hoods. And here I will activate these 2 ships. One of these cubes is wasted, but I wanted to make sure I use 3 ships here, so that's why I chose a die with 3 function cubes. So the way that the Meld fight the Armada is quite interesting. The Armada have very strong shields. Interceptors have 3, frigates have 5, and dreadnoughts have 9. And those shields are unable to be penetrated by the Meld torpedoes. So what the Meld do is that they spread spore clouds, and those spore clouds are some nano-organisms that consume the energy of the shields, and they basically lower the shields of all the ships in the area where the spore clouds are. And after the shields are at 0, then the Meld can shoot a torpedo and destroy the ship. So I'm going to want to destroy this interceptor here. So I'm going to activate the mothership, and the mothership is like a Cobra. It has like 3 actions. Those actions are usually move, shoot a spore cloud, or shoot a torpedo. And I can do any of those 3 actions in any combination or any repetition. But the mothership doesn't move, so it can only either shoot a spore cloud or a torpedo. But it can do that 3 times. Moreover, any Cobra, including the mothership, can shoot spore clouds and torpedoes not just in their own area but in adjacent areas. So I'm removing the cube because I'm activating the mothership, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot here 3 spore clouds. Now, because I have a rattle here, this rattle is going to amplify one of these spore clouds. So instead of 3, it's like I have 4 spore clouds over here. This interceptor has just 3 shields, so the 4 spore clouds is more than enough to nullify the shields from this interceptor. So now I'm going to activate this hood. The hood is going to move and then torpedo. It's going to throw a torpedo there, which it can do because those shields are exhausted. So I remove a cube from there. This cube is not doing anything here. So this interceptor is destroyed by a torpedo because the 3 shields it had got exhausted and then a torpedo was shot. So hoods can move and shoot torpedoes, but they cannot place spore clouds. Whenever an Armada ship is destroyed, it also destroys one of the spore clouds here. So this 3 becomes actually 2. And interceptor is destroyed. So I've used all my activations here, but hoods also have a passive effect, which is every adjacent region to a hood is gonna have increased hit point for the Meld ships. So because I have 2 hoods here, this region is gonna have 2 extra hit points for whatever Meld ship is here, in this case the mothership. By the way, the hit points are 2 for the fangs, 2 for the rattles, 3 for the hoods, 4 for the regular Cobras, and 5 for the mothership. So the mothership now has 7 hit points because of these 2 hoods here. Now down here I can activate 3 ships. So I will activate this Cobra. So as I said, the Cobra has 3 actions, which can be chosen from move, shooting a spore cloud, and shooting a torpedo. So it's going to move once, and it's going to shoot 2 spore clouds in here. Remember, the Cobras can shoot to adjacent locations, not just their own location. So I'm preparing the orbit. I'm starting to try to take control of orbit in case some Armada ships come here. I will be able to destroy them more easily. And now I can move. I can also activate these hoods. I'll mark this. I'm gonna move both hoods over here. And because these hoods are over here, they're gonna provide 2 extra hit points for the ships here. And these 3 hoods here are gonna provide 3 extra hit points for the ships here. Notice that because this line is red, these hoods do not provide hit points for the ships here, because this is not adjacent. So I'm gonna mark this with a +2 here and with a +3 here. And now I discard the card that I've just used. And for my second card, I'm gonna use the bottom, of course. I must use the bottom for the second card. And that's called Evolving Meld. So it allows me to upgrade one of my cards. But first I have to destroy 2 different small meld ships anywhere to evolve 1 command card and score the number of circles, the number of sensory icons, which is 2 victory points. Then I can create a Cobra, which I'll explain how that is done. So first of all, I'm gonna already give myself 2 victory points. Okay. And now I have to destroy 2 different small meld ships. So I will choose to destroy these 2. And I'm going to choose this card because I'm interested in this carpet bombing. So I will switch this card. I can switch this card with the card that is in my hand or with the card that is on the discard pile. I'm going to switch with this one. So I place the evolved card there. And I place the basic card here. I scored the victory points and now I can create a Cobra. So Cobras are created from 3 different small ships. So I must use a hood, a rattle and a fang together to create a Cobra. I'm thinking whether I'm going to do that here or over there. And I'm a little bit afraid that if I do it over there, the Cobra might be killed rather soon because it's the Armada's turn to play. So I'm going to create a Cobra over here. So I destroy these 3 different ships and I replace it with a Cobra. So I discard this card and I discard the dice over here to my neuron dice discard, and 4 cards remain in my hand. I don't draw anything, there's no draw deck, and that's the end of my turn. So now we are back to the principal. This is the second round, so moving the round marker and looking at these cards. So I must play up to 3 cards, and so I will start by playing this card face down to activate this directive. So this directive is gonna allow me to use 5 fallen bodies, which are over there, to improve my bag a lot. I'm gonna discard 5 Discord cubes, and then I'm gonna move 2 units. So I place this card over here, face down. I remove these 5 fallen from the board. I'm going to discard 5 discord cubes from the bag. My bag is going to be very good. So discarding 5. And now I can move once with up to 2 units, and I can discard a card from my hand. I don't want to discard a card, so I'm going to move 2 units over here. Next, I'm going to use this card for this action and then this card for this action, because I'm going to try to move some units over here, try to destroy that building, the hospital. So I start by using this location activation to move 5 units over there. So I choose 1 Centurion and 4 Legions. So I moved 5 units out of this area. And now I play this location activation to perform 2 attacks in that area. So 2 attacks over there. So because I have 5 units, half of that rounded up is 3. So I get 3 cubes. It's gonna be good. Alright, just 1 hit. So buildings can only be attacked once per, can only be hit or damaged once per attack. So I'm gonna make just 1 more attack, so I wanna make sure this hit goes to the building, because I really wanna destroy it. So building is damaged, and because I got exactly 1 black cube, I get nothing discarded. So when I have more than 1 focus cube, I discard 1 focus cube. When I have all my cubes as discord, I discard 1. But this is neither of those situations, so I don't lose any cubes. They go back in the bag. So now for my second attack, again 3 cubes, and they're all black. So I will place 1 damage on the building and 2 on the marine, so they are both dead. The marine has 2 hit points, so it's dead, and it's replaced by a fallen body. The building is destroyed, and when a building is destroyed, I automatically construct 1 Skybeam with 2 hit points. This Skybeam is gonna help my Meld teammate, because it's gonna let him activate more ships on the western area. It's like sending an energy beam into the sky, and this gives me 1 point because I have just 1 Skybeam on the map. So the more Skybeams I have, the more points they increasingly give me. So I get 1 point. And because I draw more than 1 focus cube, I lose 1 focus cube. The rest goes back in the bag. And I draw back up to 4 cards. Now for the Armada. So again, the refinery is still intact, so I get 1 Promethium. Promethium is used usually for these technologies. Speaking of which, I have now this technology active for this turn, although I don't think I'm going to use it. Technologies only last for 1 turn, then another technology will come, cover it, and there will be a new technology on the next turn. So I had these 2 cards left over, but this was rather planned that I was going to use this card for the second turn. There's some kind of turn programming going on with the Armada. So I'm going to use this card, which allows me to activate 2 interceptors and 2 frigates. Now I really want to destroy this mothership, and the frigates can shoot ranged, can shoot to the next region, to the adjacent region. So I could, for example, theoretically move here and then try to shoot the mothership. However, these hoods have another passive effect, which is that they prevent any kind of long-range shooting from the area where they're at. So before doing this, I must really try to take down these hoods with these interceptors, which I kind of know that I can, because although the Armada has a combat deck with the cards shuffled, I know what cards I put here, so there's some mitigation. I remember that I had a 2 and then I had a 3 and a 3, so these cards are certainly a 3 and a 3 because I'm the one who put them here, I'm the one who selected them. So I'm gonna activate these interceptors, so move and shoot a hood. Remember that interceptors are specialized against hoods, they have always an extra hit against hoods. There is no defense here, because these hoods provide defense to the adjacent regions but not to their own region. So these hoods don't have extra hit points, they have 3 and 3. So this is shooting, and this is actually a 3. 3 plus 1 is 4, it's an overkill. So I killed one hood. And the other interceptor does exactly the same thing, moves and shoots. That's another 3, with a bonus from the interceptor is a 4, another overkill. Now every 2 ships that I kill from the Meld give me 2 victory points. Every 2 ships killed in the same turn. So now that the hoods are gone, this plus 2 is also gone, and I'm already able to shoot long range with my frigates if I bring them in. So that's what I'm going to do. I will bring a frigate. So a frigate can move and shoot, or shoot and move, or move twice, or shoot twice, but it cannot shoot twice from a distance. It can only shoot twice if it's in the same region. Otherwise it can shoot twice if it doesn't move. So it moved, now it's going to shoot. I forgot to shuffle this deck. It's always easier to shuffle this deck off camera because I'm holding a phone in my hand. Anyways, I know what cards are here, so I'm shooting with this frigate over there. Now that the hoods are gone, this doesn't have extra hit points, so it has 5 hit points. So first I place 3 damage. You can mark the damage like this. 3 damage. And now the other frigate does exactly the same thing. It moves in here and shoots for another 2 damage. So 3 plus 2 is 5. It's exactly the number of hit points of the mothership. So the mothership is gone, and destroying the mothership gives me 6 hit points. By the way, we have very good player aids telling us how many points we have, how many points the faction in front of us can get, and about the units, their shields, etc. So I've just destroyed the mothership and I get 6 points from that. So that's up to 17 points. And I discard the card over here. This technology will be active for the next turn. And I forgot to use my drone phase. So in my drone phase, I'm gonna use one of my echo drones to clear up one of these spore clouds, because it's getting a bit dangerous here. So because I have frigate or dreadnought in the location of spore clouds, I can clear up a spore cloud with a drone. So I could potentially use 2 drones in my echo phase, my drone phase, sorry. But I'm gonna keep one there because it might be useful, for example, to launch a scientist or something like that. So that's my turn. This technology will be active on next turn. And that's it. I placed this here to show that the mothership was destroyed. So the expedition is afraid of this and didn't like this destruction of this building, which is giving extra power to the Meld. However, I don't have good cards to come here because the card that activates Sergeant Killer isn't a card with a special ability that I could use right now. So I think I'm gonna use my sniper to try to shoot the Emperors. So I choose this card for hero activation. So Mac is going to be activated. So I will execute this special effect. I place an absorption field in a location with at least 1 militia, and I score a victory point per western populated location where I have at least a combat unit present. So this card goes out of the game. I will place an absorption field here, which I can because I have a militia, and on the western populated locations, so the populated locations are these two because they have these symbols. So one of them I have combat units, so I'm going to score just 1 victory point. I'm going to play these 2 cards for momentum, so I have 3 momentum and I can activate 1 building. If I had more of these icons, I still could activate just 1 building. Usually you cannot activate more than 1 building per turn. So 3 momentums and 1 building activation. This goes into my discard. And I can use Mac's ability. So Mac's ability is basically to snipe. I can move him, I don't want to move him right now. I can assign damage to a unit that is in my location or adjacent. So I'm going to assign 2 damage to the Emperors, but as it's written here, the principal can choose to discard 1 or 2 cards, decreasing that damage by 1 or 2 respectively. So the principal tells me that they want to discard just 1 card, put on the bottom of their deck. So they don't want to discard 2 cards because then they could only play 2 instead of 3 cards on their turn. So they discard just 1. So instead of damaging the Empress twice, I damage just once. So 1 damage. I like to start hitting the Empress regularly so that at some point she'll probably die, hopefully, which would give me 10 points. Alright, so I've executed Mac's ability, and because Mac is the activated hero, that means he can shoot. However, how I can shoot if I use momentum on him. Other heroes can move with my momentum but cannot shoot, and every unit can shoot only once per turn. I actually, instead of using these guys over here, I think I'm gonna focus on this area. Since I have 3 momentum to spend, I spend 1 momentum by moving a scientist over here, 1 momentum by moving Sergeant Killer over here. Sergeant Killer is the one that can take more damage and has stronger abilities. Now I cannot spend the other momentum to shoot with him because he's not the activated hero, but I'm going to use the regroup for my 3rd momentum. So regroup allows me to collect 1 fallen where a hero is located and to place a deflector shield where a hero is located. Could be another place, but I'm going to put it here. Actually, no. because I have just one unit there, so it doesn't matter if it's me choosing the hits or not. So I will place the deflector in the city, where I have a hero as well. And now for my building activation, I am going to use my railgun over there to shoot a legion. And I'm gonna shoot this legion over here. I'm gonna try to, maybe next turn, try to take down this skybeam. Let's see if I'm able or not. We'll see. Now for my drone phase, I'm actually gonna use this drone, this echo drone. So I'm gonna use it to launch this scientist into space. Now when a scientist is launched into space, you turn it around and you place 2 Promethium under the shuttle, because the scientist is bringing some Promethium up here to help the Armada. He's escaping, but he's also being useful. Now he comes into this orbit because he was on the west pylon area. If he was on the east one, it would come to the east suborbit area. If he was on the city, he could come to either of these suborbit areas. So he's here. He's protected for now, but he has to get out of here in the next turn, otherwise I will lose him. And my plan is to perhaps go over here and meet with these Armada ships. Now whenever I launch a scientist, the Armada gets to move 1 ship. And it's going to move the Dreadnought over here to try to perhaps meet the scientists over here and provide cover. So that's it for my drone phase. I launched the scientist. I could use up to 2 drones. I used just 1. And now I draw back up to 4 cards. As you can see, there are some symbols here, the +6 between the 2nd and 3rd round, 5th and 6th, 8th and 9th. This is when the Armada has to draw 6 more cards and choose 3 for their combat deck and 3 for their hand. So after the expedition played the 2nd round, the Armada can already start choosing. So I've drawn 6 cards over here. And I've already chosen these 3 to keep in my hand and these 3 to the combat deck. So I really want this 4 to be in my combat deck. And I'm thinking of, this is the card that was in my hand, I'm thinking of charging my ion cannon, which means the next turn I will not want to use a Dreadnought, because then I couldn't charge my ion cannon. So this is active in the next turn, so I'm thinking of using this for my next turn, then this in my turn after that. This is also quite good because it means that the principal during 1 turn cannot deal more than 1 damage per attack, and I know that bag is full of black focus cubes, so this is going to be a real hindrance for them. And then after that I want to be able to use my Dreadnought so I can use my ion cannon. That's why I chose something with a question mark, which I can choose a Dreadnought, because the others don't have a Dreadnought except for this one, but I want this one in my combat deck. And probably I will not need to use this card, because then I will receive more cards. So these 3 go into my hand together with the one I already had, and these ones are shuffled into my combat deck, leaving the discard as it is. So it's shuffled, and this is my hand. But now it's the Meld's turn. So the Meld now have their eyes on this scientist transport, and they know that they have to come there or here, and probably these ships are going to come to protect it. So I'm going to try to fill this orbit with spore clouds. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I construct a ship, as always, in a place where there's a Cobra. I'm going to place this ship here because I'm also thinking of using these ships to bombard the planet. And so I'm choosing this die with 2 function icons and 3 sensory icons. So I'll first start by placing a function cube that comes from that sky beam on the west side of the planet. So that sky beam allows me to place a function cube wherever I want in a western region, or a region that is equally distanced from the western and the eastern orbit. So you can see from these symbols that this is closer to the western orbit, but for example this one or this one, you can see that it's equal distance from the east and west orbit. So I could place it over here, for example. Yes, I will place it over here. And then from my die, I will place 2 here and 2 here. And now I will activate, using this card, I will activate Fangs and Cobras. So I'm going to discard this card and I'll activate Fangs and Cobras. So first of all, I will update my hit point situation. So these hoods plus those 2 hoods are providing 4 extra hit points in this area. So I will activate this Cobra. It will come here and it will shoot 2 spore clouds over there. I want to keep the Cobra protected, and it can also spare 1 move by shooting the clouds from a distance. So I've used this cube, and now I will activate this Cobra. It will not get out of here because I want it to stay to bombard the planet, but it will shoot 3 spore clouds into this area. I will also activate this Fang, but it will also not go away because I want it to bombard, so it will just place a spore cloud here. And finally, I can activate those 2 Fangs. Now one of the Fangs is going to shoot a spore cloud. And because I have a rattle here, one of these spore clouds is doubled, so I have actually 3, equivalent to 3 spore clouds, and 3 is exactly the shields of the interceptor, so this second Fang will shoot the interceptor, will torpedo and destroy the interceptor. When the interceptor gets destroyed, one of the spore clouds also goes away with the explosion. Now I will play the bottom of this card for a massive bombardment, and because I have 3 sensory icons, 3 plus 1 is 4, so I can bombard with 4 ships, which I have them there. I'm going to bombard the Eastern Hemisphere with 4 ships, and I have to target different targets. So I will place the card into this card. And over here, I choose to bombard, so I can bombard anything that is on the Eastern Hemisphere or Central Hemisphere. However, this pylon protects this area and the city, and this pylon protects its own area and the city. So for the city to be bombarded, both pylons have to be down. Anything in this pylon area cannot be bombarded except for the pylon itself, which means bombarding the shields themselves to overload them, provoke a feedback loop that will damage the pylon. That's what I will do. So I'm going to bombard the pylon. So it starts with 3 hit points, now it has 2 hit points. I cannot bombard the same target again, so I will also bombard 1 scientist. So a bombardment can target maximum 1 scientist, and that's if nothing else is a valid target in the same area. So this scientist will make the humans lose more morale, so one less victory point for the humans. And I can target 2 more with a bombardment. I will damage this jammer and I will damage this comms array. And that's it for my bombardment. I discard my die. There's just 2 cards left over for next turn. So we're now in the 3rd round. And you notice the principal have just 3 cards instead of 4. That's because they discarded 1 card to prevent an additional damage to the Empress. So from these 3 cards, I'm first going to choose this one for the location activation. So I'm moving in 5 units to the east pylon. So those units are going to be a Centurion, my Empress, and 3 legions. So I moved in 5, so I can't attack with that card. Now I'm using this card face down to use this directive. So there's no fallen on the map, unfortunately. So I'm going to remove 2 discard cubes from the bag. So I remove 2 discard cubes. And now, continuing with the directive, I can add 1 damage to Centurion to attack the location and first remove the deflector. So that's what I'm going to do. I damage this Centurion once. I remove the deflector. And I attack this location. So I have 5, so that means I can draw 3. So I have 2 hits. The first hit is absorbed by the absorption field. It goes away. Then I have another hit. I will not attribute it to heroes because heroes can absorb the first hit in every turn or in every round. I can't attribute it to the scientist. However, I can attribute it to the pylon. So the pylon now has only 1 hit point left. Unfortunately, I won't be able to damage it more this turn because you can only damage a pylon once a turn by the principal. So that's it for this attack. Now I use another card to cover this bottom directive and I will do this again. So I'll add another damage to the Centurion to attack again. So the Centurion is damaged once again. Perform another attack. So before I forget, I had more than 1 black cube, so I lose a black cube. This goes back in the bag, and now another attack for 3 cubes. Whew. So 1 hit, and that 1 hit I choose to kill a militia. Placing your fallen. And I place my cubes back in the bag. That's it for my principal turn. I draw back to 4 cards. So the Armada are going to play this card as planned, because I want to charge my ion cannon as soon as possible. So I'm going to choose this card. I will move 2 dreadnoughts and 1 interceptor. However, one of these activations I want to replace with the transport ship, because I want to move it. So I will replace one of the interceptor moves with moving the transport ship. It must move into this or this, otherwise it will die if it stays here 1 turn. Now I will move this interceptor, this dreadnought here. I want to accumulate as many ships as I can in here. Oh, by the way, I forgot to earn my Prometheum at the beginning of the turn. So, as long as I have ships here, combat ships, the Meld cannot shoot down my scientists. So they must destroy all the ships in the area. That's why I'm moving so many ships here. So I'm moving this, and to remember, when the dreadnought moves, I must launch an interceptor, and along with it, fleet movement, I am allowed to move 2 more ships. So these 2 frigates go here. Now I have 1 more dreadnought move activation, and 1 interceptor activation. My interceptor activation is going to be this one. It's going to take a shot at this rattle and then move. So I'm going to shoot. I got a 4. That's my best shooting card. The rattle has just 2 hit points, so it's dead. And I move the interceptor in here. 1 big party. And finally I have 1 more dreadnought move. I'm moving this dreadnought. It launches an interceptor. And I can move 2 more ships along with it. So one of those ships will be a frigate. And then another frigate from here. I got a lot of ships in here, trying to escort the scientists. That's going to give me Prometheum and points in the next turn, hopefully. Alright, so now before my drone phase, I'm going to use this technology here. I can spend up to 3 Prometheum to gain Echo Drones, because I have no Echo Drones. But I don't want to spend more than 1 Prometheum, because I want to activate my ion cannon next turn. And I need 3 Prometheum for that. Although next turn I'm gonna earn this Prometheum from the scientists for sure, which is 2. I don't think the Meld can shoot all these ships. So yeah, I think I will spend 3 Prometheum to gain 3 Echo Drones and 2 victory points. So I spend 3 Prometheum. I gain 3 Echo Drones, very useful, and 2 victory points. Also very useful to win the game. I discard this card, and I have the possibility to charge my ion cannons next turn. I forgot that one of the reasons I wanted Echo Drone so badly is because I want to clear out these spore clouds over here. So in my drone phase, I can use up to 2, and I'm going to use 2 Echo Drones. Actually, I could also perform ground strikes instead. But no, I'm going to use 2 Echo Drones to clear up these 2 spore clouds, so that this becomes a less dangerous zone. Much better. So the expedition is trying to get rid of that skybeam, but at the same time is very afraid of this because the pylon's almost gone. I will choose this card. Colonel O'Hare will be activated, and this card allows Marines to deal 2 hits instead of 1 for each momentum used with attacking with them. So I will exhaust this card, and my Marines now will shoot double with momentum. As for momentum, I will use these 2 cards. I'm gonna save this Sergeant Killer's knife fight for later. Is there. So I'm gonna have 4 momentums and 1 building activation. For the building activation, I'm activating my comms array to produce an echo drone. So I have one more echo drone here. And before I execute Colonel O'Hare's ability, I will use one of the 4 momentums to bring this marine closer to this place. So I spent one of my 4 momentums, I still have 3. So Colonel O'Hare's ability allows me to move 3 combat units and then place a deflector shield in his location. So I'm gonna move this marine here, and I'm gonna move this marine here, and I can move one more combat unit. I'm gonna bring in this militia up here, because this got not very well defended. So, and now I place a deflector shield in Colonel O'Hare's location. That's it. So I have 3 more momentums to use, and those 3 momentums are going to be these 3 marines shooting. So because each of them shoots twice, I actually shoot 6 times. I deal 6 hits. So this is the first time it happens in the game, which is rather unusual. But the way that I shoot with the expedition is I place these cubes on the region that I'm shooting, 6 cubes, and then later on I'll resolve them, as you'll see. So before resolving that, in my drone phase, I can use drones to evacuate scientists or to drop marines from these frigates. I'm going to use one of these drones to drop a marine, and so I'm using from this supply of 6 marines, and I have to drop a marine on the western side, so western or central side, where there's a hero or adjacent. So unfortunately I cannot drop a marine over there. I will drop a marine over here, and the marine immediately shoots. So I deal another hit. Unfortunately I don't have any more of these red cubes, but I'll place a black cube just for the moment. I stole it from the principal. So now I'm going to use the other Echo drone to launch a scientist. So I am launching this scientist on the eastern suborbit, and this allows the Armada to move 1 ship. So the Armada chooses to move this frigate. And continuing, I will now attribute the hits done by my soldiers. So this should be a red cube. So when I'm dealing hits to the principal, I choose the first hit, they choose the second, I choose the third, they choose the fourth, etc. in each region. So I always choose the first hit. So this hit is going to go to the Skybeam. So the Skybeam has only 1 hit point left. And over here, I'm going to choose the first, the third, and the 5th hit. So all my hits, I'm going to choose the Empress and the Empress over here. Which is the obvious target. And the principal will choose 3 hits for, or rather 2 hits for the Centurion and 1 hit for a Legion. So this is basically, I chose Empress, they chose Centurion, I chose Empress, they chose Centurion, I chose Empress, they chose a Legion. And I can remove these cubes already. So now that I dealt the hits, I finished my turn and I draw back to 4 cards. So back to the Meld. I start by building a ship, and I think I'm going to build a rattle over here because I wanted my teammate to be able to probably land it so that it can help in the ground combat. A rattle corresponds to an immobile and invincible unit that provides 2 extra cubes coming from the bag. So I built a ship, small ship. Now I'm going to actually ignore that sky beam because I'm not going to need it. I want to focus my efforts on taking down something over here. At least this dreadnought would be nice because it would give me 9 points. And I'm gonna coordinate with my teammate. Somebody told me he has a card called Surface to Space. So I'm not able to kill all these ships and take down the transport, so I will only activate my Cobras this turn. I'll choose this die with a single activation cube, with a single function cube. So I put 1 cube here and 1 cube here, and I don't need the cube coming from the sky beam because I don't have any more Cobras, just these 2. So I'm using this card, which allows me to activate Cobras, but each of them will act 4 times instead of 3. So that's going to be quite powerful. What I'm going to do is this Cobra is going to shoot 4 spore clouds in there. 4 spore clouds. And this Cobra will come here and shoot 3 more spore clouds. So that is a total of 7. And it seems like I'm not doing much because I'm not destroying any ship, but my teammate will finish the job. That's it for my activations. I discard this card, and then the second card I have, I didn't have much choice. Is basically I'm gonna be able to reroll all my dice. At some point I would have to do it, because if I run out of dice, I lose points, I won't be able to build a ship, and my opponent, they will gain 2 echo drones. So sooner or later I would have to do it, but this was a bit sooner than necessary. Alright. This die goes out. So back to the principle. We are now in the 4th round. The first card I'm going to play is going to be the Surface to Space. So right here on the bottom, I can place a spore cloud in orbit or destroy an Armada ship that already has its shields exhausted and it's in orbit. And I can do this 3 times. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna discard this card. What I'm gonna do is I place 2 more spore clouds over here to a total of 9, and then my third action will be to destroy the dreadnought, which has exactly 9 shields. With it goes a spore cloud. This is 9 points for the aliens. So for the 18, so 9 plus 3 is 12. After this, I'm a little bit afraid that the Empress might die over there. I'm gonna select this card, not for what it has, but I'm going to use this directive where I can ignore suppression during this turn, and I either move once with one unit, or I look through my deck and I can put whatever card I want on top. So I'm hoping that, I know there's at least one card that can heal my Empress, and because I don't have many cards left, I'm hoping it's already here, so I'm going to choose the first option. And then after that I'll add one Discord cube, and remove one Discord cube and add one to the bag. So I'll place this here. I choose to move one unit, that's my Empress. Ignoring suppression, what does this mean? Every time I move, every time the principal moves away from a region with human combat units, they get a chance to shoot each of them, and they choose the hits. That's called suppression. But because I'm ignoring suppression, I can go away from that region without getting shot. And now I will remove a Discord cube and add a focus cube. Alright, and for my third and last card, I'm going to use the location activation up here, simply to move 5 units to the west palan, or rather I'll move 3 units and attack. Yeah, that's what I'll do. So I'm moving the Centurion and 2 units from down here, and I make one attack. So I have 3 units, that's 2 cubes. Again, I was able to move out of here and out of there, ignoring suppression because of the directive that I chose. So 2 cubes, and I got 2 hits. So the first hit is absorbed by this absorption field, and the second hit I will do to the pylon. I'm hoping I can destroy these pylons, but it's tough. And because I draw more than one focus cube, I lose one. The other one goes back to the back. So that's my turn. I draw up to 4 again. And let me see if I have something to heal my Empress. Yes, a little bit. I can return 1 health to the Empress or score a victory point. So the Armada get the usual 1 Promethean because the lunar refinery is still intact. And they also collect these 2 Promethean from this scientist transport because they have a frigate or a dreadnought in the same region. So I have 3 Promethean. And I'm going to continue as planned to play this card, which does not activate the dreadnought, so that I'm able to charge my ion cannon. So might as well charge my ion cannon already, so I spend 3 Promethean. And this card turns up. The ion cannon basically allows me to distribute 7 damage. For instance, 7 damage in my area, in the area of a dreadnought, plus 5 in an adjacent area, or if a dreadnought is in orbit, 5 damage in its area, plus 5 as a ground strike to the surface of the planet. So 7 plus 5 in space, or 5 in space and 5 on the planet. But I can only use this next turn if I activate Dreadnought. Next turn, or any future turn where I activate the Dreadnought. This turn I will activate 4 frigates and 1 and produce 1 Echo Drone. However, because I want to move 2 scientist transports, this one and this one, I have to give up two of these actions. So I will give up to produce the drone, and I will give up one of the frigate activations. So I will basically only activate 3 frigates. First of all, this scientist transport, I will move him out of orbit, which allows him to immediately jump into hyperspace and get the hell away from here. So I successfully evacuated the scientist, which gives the humans 3 points. And now I will move this one into orbit, out of suborbit, because if it stays there, it's gonna die in this turn. So this one goes into orbit, and I will activate now my 3 frigates. So my 3 frigates, I want to get the hell away from here because this is full of spore clouds. It's basically a bloodbath waiting to happen. So with each of my frigates I will move and I will shoot. So the frigates can shoot ranged to an adjacent region. So I'm going to shoot one of these hoods. I've been keeping track of my cards, so I know that I have here a 1, a 2 and a 3. I just don't know which order. So let's see. So that's a 3. So I damage the hood by 3. The hood has 3 hit points, but because it has a +2 from these 2 hoods, it's actually a 5 hit points. So the next frigate is going to do exactly the same thing. And the reason I'm moving into this region is to protect these scientists, which by the way I already activated. And this frigate is going to shoot as well. So next combat card is a 2. 3 plus 2 is 5. That's enough to destroy one hood. So because I destroyed one hood here, I have to update this. So this +4 becomes a +3. This +2 becomes a +1. You don't actually have to put these things, but they help keeping track. And this +2 becomes a +1. I thought about attacking these cobras here with these frigates and the ones that were here, but the cobras have more hit points and they had a +4 here, so that was going to be impossible. And I can activate one more frigate, which is going to be this one. So I activate it and might as well shoot with it already, although I know it's not going to do anything because this card, if I remember correctly, is a 1. But at least I get the 1 out of the way and I will have better cards for my next shots. So yeah, I'm going to shoot the hood, although it's not going to do anything. So yeah, it's a 1. I don't even need to put the damage here because I'm not going to shoot anymore. And the Meld, at the beginning of their turn, they regenerate any damage that's still hanging around. So that's it for this card. I activated the Ion Cannon. I saved the Scientist. I'm protecting the other. I destroy the hood. Not too bad. I don't have any drones, so my drone phase I cannot do anything. I place this here, so next turn for the principal, they cannot deal more than 1 damage per attack, which is gonna be good, I guess. So the expedition really wanna kill the Emperors. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna choose this card for hero activation. I can choose any hero. I'm gonna choose Colonel O'Hare because he's the one that allows me to move more units. So, and I'm going to use the special ability, which is to copy the effect of an already exhausted card. And I can use these multiple building icons to perform building abilities this turn. So I can activate more than one building if I have the icons, which I will. And the card that I'm copying the effect of is this Fighters of Earth. So Marines are going to deal 2 hits instead of 1. So this here. I activate Colonel O'Hare, and I'm going to perform his ability already. So I can choose to move 3 combat units. So I'm going to move himself there, plus another Marine, plus another Marine. I really want to kill this Empress. His ability ends by placing a deflector shield at his location. Placed it over there. And now, for momentum, I'm trying to save this knife fight for later. So I'm going to use these 2 cards for momentum. So that gives me 2 momentum and 2 building activations, which I will actually be able to activate 2 buildings thanks to this special effect. So 2 momentums and 2 building activations. The building activations, I can do them already. One is going to be the railgun is going to shoot one of these legions, because I'm a bit afraid I left this area a bit unprotected, although Mac is here, and 1 Marine and 1 Militia, and deflector shield. The other building activation is going to be my comms array. So I will produce an Echo Drone, which is always handy. And my 2 momentums are gonna be my Marines over here are gonna shoot, and because of the Fighters of Earth effect, they're gonna shoot twice each, so that's 4 hits from the Marines. Now I could consider in my drone phase right now to use this drone and drop a Marine, but I have a feeling the Armada is gonna use this drone, is gonna need this drone more than I do, so I'm not gonna do that. I will resolve this damage, so I'll attribute the first one to the Empress, the Principal attributes the second one to a Legion, I guess. I attribute the second one to the Empress, and the fourth one he will attribute to a Legion. So the Empress is dead. I was hoping to do this before she can be healed. And 2 Legions are dead as well. By killing the Empress, the humans get 10 points. So that was good, because 10 points puts us in 32. And now the Empress can no longer come to the artifact and hack it, which would give the 18 5 points per turn. So we avoided that. And I draw back to 4 cards. So I draw 1 card. The deck is empty, and what we do is we pick up the discard pile and we turn it around without shuffling, and we take the rest of the cards. So I don't use my drone, but I managed to kill the Empress. So the Meld didn't have any cards left, so I draw all the deck back to my hand, which are all these cards. So I have here the card that I evolved initially, that's the Carpet Bombing, which I'm going to use this turn. I also have this card back in my hand, which lets me activate covers 4 times instead of 3. So I'm going to use these 2. So first of all, I build a ship, so I'm going to build a hood over here. So that will increase this shield, or these hit points rather, and this +1 becomes a +2. And now I will choose this die with 2 function icons. So I could put 2 in each location, but I'm just gonna place it in this location. It's the only location with cobras, so I'm not gonna put any more. I also don't need cube that comes from that sky beam. So I'm going to activate the 2 cobras, and what I'm going to do with them is they can act 4 times instead of 3. So each of them moves here and shoots 3 spore clouds over here, and the second one shoots 2 and torpedoes one of the frigates. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to destroy all this, to destroy the transport, but at least I destroy 1 frigate, and with it goes 1 spore cloud, and that frigate gives the Aethan 3 points. Alright, and 1 of the spore clouds was also removed along with the frigate. Now, the second card, so this card gets discarded, and the second card is the carpet bombing. So with the carpet bombing, I selected a die with 3 sensory icons, so I can move 3 ships and then bombard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these 2 hoods over here, as well as this rattle. So now I'm going to update this, becomes a +1. This continues to +3, and this is now a +4. And over there where the cobras are, it becomes a +3. Alright, so now I'm going to choose west, and in the west I have 6 ships, so I'm going to do a bombardment of 6 different targets on that hemisphere. So 6 different targets over here are going to get damaged. They have to be west hemisphere or central. So one of the targets is of course the pylon. So the pylon is almost gone. I think the humans are winning in terms of points, so I'm focusing on pylons now to try to bombard the artifact. So now both pylons are almost destroyed. They have just 1 hit point each. So I can damage 5 more targets. One of them is going to be the scientist. I can always bombard 1 scientist as long as there's no other valid target in the area. So this scientist is going to lower the humans' morale, and they will lose 1 point. And I have 4 more targets. That's one hell of a bombardment. That's why it's called carpet bombardment, I guess. So I will damage this building, the railgun. The other 3 targets are going to be these 2 militia. And the Sergeant Killer, which, because it's a bombardment, he doesn't ignore the damage, the first damage. So what we do is we take out 1 of his wound cards, and usually we would put it on the top of the deck. So the expedition would receive the wound in hand, which would clog the hand the next turn. But because it's Sergeant Killer, he has a passive ability, which means that his wounds actually go to the discard pile, which means it will take a long time before he actually starts being affected by his wounds, because that's how he is. So that was one hell of a bombardment. I damaged the pylon, I damaged the railgun, I killed the scientist, 2 militia, and I wounded the sergeant killer. Bombardment is done. I discard my die. Starting the 5th round. I'm gonna try to attack both pylons and destroy them this turn. Let's see if I can do that. So first I'm gonna play this for the location activation, and I can attack that location twice. So attacking the west pylon location twice. So I have 3 units there. So I can take 2 cubes. I'm not moving in any units because suppression would kill a lot of them, so I'm just attacking with what I have there, and like that I can attack twice. So 2 cubes. That's 2 blacks. Nice. So this pylon's gone. And that gives the 18 5 points. And the other hit has to be a militia. I lose one of the focus cubes. And I can do a second attack there. So second attack. 1 white, 1 black. You can go back to the bag already. I kill the other militia. Not bad. Now I'm playing this one to attack the east pylon. Again with 2 attacks, but this time I have just 2 units there, so I'm gonna be drawing 1 cube only. So 1 cube, and it's a white. And because it's all white, all the cubes I drawn were white, I lose a white. This is not gonna work because there's a deflector there. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead with it. So second attack, a black, goes back in the bag. So this hit is actually chosen by the expedition because they have a deflector shield which goes away. Of course they choose the hero because the hero absorbs the first damage in every turn. But at least I removed the deflector shield, so if I'm able to do another attack, I will be able to choose the pylon. Let's see if I can do that. I look at my cards. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this directive which allows me to attack a location of my choice. And first land a rattle from orbit. However, the rattle cannot land there because that location is protected. Anyway, I will land the rattle, this rattle over here, from the west side, must land on the west side, so I will land it here. And now I can attack once in location of my choice. So I put this card here, and I'm going to attack over there, of course. I'm gonna drop 1 cube. Let's hope it's a black, and it's a black. Goes back in the bag. This pylon is destroyed for another 5 points. And I realize now my first attack here I dealt 2 damage, 1 to the pylon, 1 to a militia. I should have only dealt 1 damage because the Armada has this technology active that during this turn I can only deal 1 damage per attack. So one of the militias actually survived. It's not a big problem. I destroyed both pylons. I draw back to 4 cards. And hopefully the Meld will be able to bombard the artifact next turn, which would give us 8 points and end the game. We'll have to see how the points are by that time. So this game might be about to end, but that doesn't mean that the Athene will win, because even if the Meld bombard the artifact now, that will trigger the last round, but whoever has most points will win. So they get 8 points if they destroy the artifact, but that doesn't mean they will necessarily have more points. So basically now I'm going to try to make some points with the Armada. So as usual, I gain 1 Promethium, and I gain 2 more Promethium because I have a frigate just next to this transport, so I get 3 Promethium. And as planned, I'm going to play this card. Now I'm going to activate I'm going to activate a Dreadnought so that I can use the Ion Cannon. I'm going to be wasting the Ion Cannon because I can move the Dreadnought here, but there's no enemy here. I will not damage anything here, I'll just try to damage one of these Cobras, which is a bit of a waste, but since the game is almost finishing, I better shoot it and try to make some points. So I'm activating the Dreadnought, which will move here and launch an Interceptor. Now, with moving this Dreadnought, I can do a fleet movement, which means I can move 2 ships. I'm going to move these 2 frigates out of here, because there's quite a few spore clouds here. I don't want the Meld to make points by destroying these ships. So I move them away. And that's my Dreadnought activation. Now I will fire the Ion Cannon, which would give 7 damage here and 5 here, or I could alternatively give 5 damage here and 5 to the planet. So I choose the first option. 7 here is a waste, 5 here goes to the Cobra, so the Cobra gets 5 damage. Well, don't need to mark it. I'm gonna shoot right now with one of these Interceptors. So my next activation is an Interceptor. So 5 damages in a Cobra. I'm gonna shoot with an Interceptor. That's 6 damage. Interceptor shoots and moves away, because I don't want it to be near the spore clouds either. I'm gonna shoot with the other Interceptor. So 6 damage. That's 8 damage, that's enough because the Cobra is 4 plus 3 is 7, so that's an overkill. This Cobra gives me 3 points. 1, 2, 3. So the Interceptor also moves after shooting. And I have just one more activation, which is going to be my Scientists. They get out of orbit and they go into hyperspace, so I saved another Scientist, which gives me another 3 points. And I discard this over here. So next turn I have Paratroopers, but something tells me there's not going to be a next turn. As for my drone phase, I'm going to use this drone to clear up one of these spore clouds here, because I really don't want the Meld to destroy my Dreadnought. That would give them 9 points. They would surely win the game. But with only 1 Cobra alive, I don't think they're gonna manage to kill my Dreadnought. I'm not sure. We'll see. So now the expedition really want to get to 42 points, because if they do, they trigger the end of the game. And the Meld will not decide whether the game will finish now or not, because if the Meld see that they are more than 8 points behind, they will decide not to bombard the artifact and not end the game. But if the humans meanwhile get to 42, the game will end in this round, and Meld will not get to decide that. So I'm gonna try to get to 42 points by using this, activating Colonel O'Hare, this tactical retreat. So I can move my heroes, I can collect some fallen if there's a hero in the location of the fallen, and I can score victory point, one per populated location where I have at least 2 combat units. So I will not move any heroes, I will move Colonel O'Hare only. Is the activated hero once again. And now, because I have 2 combat units in this populated area and 2 combat units in this populated area, I get 2 victory points, and I'm just 3 away from 42. So to get 42 points, I really wanna kill this Centurion, which gives me exactly 3 points. Let's see if I can do it. I will collect this fallen, which was part of the special effect. I can collect up to 2 fallen where I have heroes. I'll collect just this one. And now I'm activating Colonel O'Hare. I use these 2 cards for 4 momentum, which is exactly what I need. 4 momentum. So when I activate Colonel O'Hare, special ability allows me to move 3 combat units. So I'm just gonna move these 3 militia in here. The final stand. And I can place a deflector where Colonel O'Hare is, although these are not going to be used. And now with the 4 momentums I attack with, let's say, with a Marine, with Colonel O'Hare, and 2 militia. So they perform 4 attacks, 1 each. And for my drone phase, I don't have any drones. So now, attributing this damage, Centurion has 3 hit points, 2 discs, and the mini itself. And there's just 1 more here, so it's exactly 4 hits. Everything is killed, the Legion and the Centurion. Centurion gives me 3 points, and I have 42, so the game will end in this round, which is the 5th round. The Armada would now get to draw of 6 cards and selecting 3 for the hand and 3 for the combat deck, but that will not be necessary because this is the last round. So draw back to 4 cards again, although that won't be needed either. So the Meld now know that this is their last turn, because the humans got to 42 points. They're gonna try to make as many points as they can. They're quite far behind. They have 25. Let's see what they can do. Ideally, it would be nice if they could destroy a dreadnought or a frigate, but couldn't find a way to do that. So construct a ship, which at this point doesn't really matter very much. They're building a fang there. They're choosing this die. They get 1 function cube from the surface, from that sky beam, which we will place here. And then they get 2 function cubes in 2 different zones, so I'm going to place 2 over here and 2 over here. One of them is not going to be used, it's going to be wasted. So I'm choosing this card to activate Fangs and Cobras. These 2 Fangs are going to shoot 2 spore clouds. And that Cobra is going to shoot 1 spore cloud over here. And then it's going to shoot twice. First time it destroys 1 interceptor along with the cloud. And the next time destroys another interceptor, because 3 clouds is still enough to deplete these shields. So destroy 2 interceptors, and that every time the Meld or the Athene destroy 2 human ships, they get 1 point, less than the human counterpart. So after that I will also activate this Fang that will move here and shoot at this interceptor, which has no shields. These 3 clouds become 2, and this doesn't give any points to the Athene. So that's the best they could do in terms of ship activations. Now they are going to use a massive bombardment. I'm going to select East Hemisphere, and I could bombard with 4 ships. However, I have just 3 ships in the Eastern Hemisphere, so I'm going to bombard 3 targets on the surface, 3 different targets. So right now all the pylons are down, so I can bombard the city. But before that I'm going to bombard this building, which immediately gives me a sky beam. This sky beam is going to give me 2 points, because there are 2 sky beams on the map now, that one and this one. So that's 2 points. And I'm going to bombard this comms array, which also builds a sky beam. This sky beam is going to give me 3 points, because now there are 3 on the map. So 1, 2, 3. And the final target is of course going to be the artifact, which gives me 8 points. So from 31 plus 8 is 39. And that's it. The Athene managed to destroy the artifact, but the humans got 42 points. And 42 is the answer to life and the universe and all things. So the humans actually win. I should say that the game never turned out like this. It always turns out quite differently from game session to game session. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. It's a very thematic game and very enjoyable from beginning to end. And I think it's a hidden gem because not many people know about it. And everybody I played with enjoyed it quite a lot.